Well, much of my work has been involved working on individual artists, researching individual painters, printmakers and collectors. These are artists who made a name for themselves in their day, but for one reason or another, their reputations did not survive them beyond the grave. I enjoy finding people who have never been worked upon. So it's all very new, very original work, going back to the original archive materials, piecing together bits of information to bring together this life lived through the artworks. Sidney Lee has been the subject of my most recent project for the Royal Academy of Arts. During his day, he was top of the game, a Royal Academician and a house on Holland Park Road at the age of 30, the most best address in London for any artist. He had no children to look after his interests after he died. The auctioneers came in and all the paintings, all the prints were dispersed, the archives were discarded. I bought my first two prints by Sidney Lee, not knowing who he was, but thinking that they were fantastic prints. I started looking out for more. Like all collecting, it becomes obsessive. So that really was a labour of love over 20 years, piecing together Sidney Lee's life and career. Hugh Blake is one of my earliest projects, really. I started working on him when I discovered a collection of his paintings and drawings above the stables in an attic space at Grugynnog. This portfolio of photographs of artworks that Blake was collecting and dealing in, selling to the Duvines and to Hugh Lane and to Frick and to American collectors. I recently acquired his diaries, most of which were thought to have been lost. These only cover the period 1930 to 36, so not his collecting period, but still they give fantastic insights into Blake. I was dumped into a generation which did not care a damn for art, apart from popular art. I was an old master born centuries late. That's great, isn't it? Little did I expect that when I first started work on Hugh Blake and discovered that portfolio, that 20 years later I'd be in Geneva at the international press launch of a painting that Blake once owned and believed to be an earlier version of the Mona Lisa. The jury is still out on its provenance, but I was able to provide a lot of information about Hugh Blake. One of the things that comes out of this type of research when you're working on some of our lost artists, you suddenly find yourself becoming the world expert, the expert on these artists. I get requests from auction houses, from print dealers, from dealers of Welsh art, from museums, from private individuals, from broadcasters, for whom I'm able to provide information, but also I'm able to perhaps authenticate works, provide provenance for them as well. And whether that's on a cold February night in a vestry in Aberystwyth, for which I was paid in pancakes, because it was Shrove Tuesday, or I could be in Geneva, speaking to the world press, being questioned by Reuters on my research. I think there are such a wide range of people who benefit from this type of work with archival material.